This deep ठीक है शुरू करबो Good morning with another important chapter, that is human development. Chapter we will be studying about the adolescent years, teenage years, the different changes that is noted in a during this period, and why is it so important. From childhood, when we become an adult, this phase of adulthood is a mixture where a child behaves like a child, but he wants all there are certain changes in the body, in the mind, in the development, cognitive development, and he starts behaving like an adult. In society, he or she is still not accepted. Hence, the problem arises. The elders treat the adolescent stage as children, while the development within has made him understand that he has become an adult. So this transition phase causes huge problems, emotionally, physically, which we call as adolescence. And hence, this is the phase when huge changes take place. That is, body functions, puberty begins in the body of a child. Then, the main things that we notice during this characteristics of this period is very important phase, because huge psychological problems arise in a child, and he or she needs to make mental adjustments, form new attitudes, values, interests. This transition period, we notice that when the child wants to come of age but is not being allowed by the elders, causes a lot of friction or arguments in the family. There's confusion in the mind of the child, while the elders still refuse to accept the child as an adult. So, for this reason, this period of change, when physical changes are very rapid, attitude, behavior, changes in the body, social group, creates a lot of new problems. It is actually a problem age. The problem and needs are taken care of by parents and teachers, but the child wants to be independent. He or she doesn't like to listen to what everyone tells to do. So a frustration arises. When there is a lot of infighting within the child, psychological problems arise. A lot of unrealistic aspirations and goals, so they try to live up to those goals. And one very important feature of this age is that is peer pressure. That means a lot of pressure is exercised by friends. They listen a lot to their friends. They believe whatever the friends tell them, that is ultimate, the best. So this is a very unrealistic age, because they are stepping into adulthood. So this phase in the life of a child is very important, transition phase. So a lot of problems arise, which could be emotional, not being accepted at home, social maturity has not set in, society also refuses to accept many things an adolescent does. Then another thing is that they want economic independence at this age. So many times we find that children give up studies and go in for vocational training so that they can fulfill their needs. Intellectual maturity, we find, is lacking, but we find that they like to use a lot of their leisure, they like to spend a lot of leisure time. And for these reasons, they must learn to utilize their leisure time properly, develop hobbies, play games, read, membership to people of their age. So ultimately, they should not have any idle time or free time. The time has to be well used by them during this period. So we will quickly look into the simple developments, aspects of development during this period. The main personality of an individual is developed during adolescence, and for this reason what we find is that the whole personality of the individual is due to various components, and they are all interwoven. Components which affects a child during this stage are all interwoven. So let us see the first one, physical development. That is how the child's behavior will affect directly or indirectly. It determines what a child can do, if he is able to compete in equal terms with his friends and peers in games, sports, studies, whether he is handicapped when taking part in competitions, how to feel at the moment, whether he or she gets tired or ill, has a big effect. Indirectly, physical development influences attitude towards self and others, which is reflected in the kind of adjustments they make. For example, if a child is overweight for his age and size, we find that he feels he's inadequate, not able to keep in terms with others. Then definitely this will affect his personality. So, physical development to a great extent is also affected by the different secretion of the endocrine glands or the ductless glands that we have in our body. So they too play a very important role in the development of the child. So motor development is very important. That is, he or she must learn how to perform the tasks in the best possible manner by developing motor skills. Certain expectations are there to make the personal and social adjustments. Otherwise, he develops a feeling of inadequacy, personal inadequacy. Emotional development too takes place. That is, he must have a happy, carefree childhood and has to make certain adjustments now, which may not be liked by many children. This belief implies that all unpleasant emotions should be kept to a minimum. A child should not grow up with unpleasantness in a surrounding where everything is unpleasant, because this will definitely affect him mentally. Accept his belief in parents, teachers, so must have a happy childhood followed by the teenage years. Social development. He must learn to be a social person, which cannot be overnight, because rapid improvement should take place. Many times we find that he needs motivation and strength, which will be provided by elders like parents and teachers. It is largely dependent, the social development is largely dependent on the learning that a child experiences, and this process is very important because he learns to make adjustments with others when he is well developed socially. Cognitive development. The child makes to life is greatly influenced by his knowledge of his environment, people and himself. This enables a child to adjust around himself and in himself so that he reacts less. This cognitive development should be very good, because otherwise a child will react to every circumstance, which will not help him to be accepted in society. So he has to react less where fear, anxiety or resentment is concerned. That is, he has to learn to bear all this. Language development is another factor which is also very important, along with moral and aesthetic development. So in this manner, what we find is that these are the general terms or the general factors or development which takes place in a child during the adolescent stage, and we will go into more detail in our next class.